my gosh, it's almost Friday. You see how happy I am? Welcome to the Fox 5 Live Zone, and we're happy that you're joining us. Coming up on the show today, President Trump yet again doubling down on a federal takeover of D.C., perhaps getting the National Guard involved. We've got the latest. Hey, did you hear? Google is out with the latest searches for parents, teachers, and students. You know, it's back to school time. They're going to stop by and tell us all about it. And meet the latest member of the Marvel series. Yes, the actress, Jonas Zhao, is going to stop by to tell us all about it. How cool is that? All that and more coming up on the show, but first, let's talk weather, shall we? Tucker Barnes joining us right here on the Live Zone. What's up, my friend?
Yes, good afternoon. Been a nice stretch of weather we've had all week.
Beautiful. I did not want to come into work today.
Yeah, a little fun weather fact. Coolest first week of August since 1985.
Wow.
So now everybody's kind of been like, whoa, it doesn't feel like D.C. in the summertime. We're saving that for next week. It'll be back.
All right.
Yeah, down the road here. But today and this afternoon featuring more nice weather, a few more clouds this afternoon than we saw this morning. But we should eventually top out in the low to mid 80s, Guy, which is about 5 degrees below normal. So no complaints there. No complaints. Still in the 80s. It'll be very nice out this afternoon.
Okay.
Plenty warm for you, that nice northeast breeze. All right, a few clouds billowing up, but rain shower chances really at a minimum this afternoon. I can't say zero chance, but they'll be very widely scattered, what we call an isolated shower. No big thunderstorms, no flash flooding, none of that later today. So we're in good shape there. High pressure to our north continues to control our weather, and the pattern here remains a good one for this afternoon. Again on Friday for our zip trip, and if you're out and about tomorrow afternoon, looks great. And then the weekend looks great as well. Saturday and Sunday, even down to the beaches, look fantastic with temps in the 80s each day. For this time of year, relatively low humidity, and we'll keep it storm free right through the weekend.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah, so whatever you're doing, we're starting to, dare I say, get into football season here. Yeah. Okay, it's August, and all good things come to an end, and around here, things coming to an end means the 90s will be back. So that's the 6 to 10 and the 8 to 14 day extended, featuring above normal temperatures across the mid-Atlantic. So I'm going to show you the 7-day forecast, and after a nice weekend, the heat will be back next week. We will have a couple more very pleasant days, and then the heat and humidity will get turned up, and we'll be right back into the mid-90s around here by Tuesday and Wednesday. And honestly, Guy, I could expand that into the end of next week, and we'll be in the low to mid-90s.
Heard that saying, pay the cost to be the boss. In this case, Mother Nature is the boss. We paid the cost.
I never heard that before, but it makes
James
sense
Brown
to me.
term.
There you go.
Cost to be the... Okay, never mind. For another time. Tucker Barnes, all things weather right here on the Live Zone. Guys, if you haven't already done so yet, make sure you download the Fox Local app. Take that beautiful forecast with you any and everywhere you go.
Very well-aligned communities of interest in the counties of Guadalupe, Wilson, Karnes, and what's a more rural area of Bear. And this is a much more compact district than the existing 35. And there's other examples throughout the map.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator West.
And so let's stay with Barron, because I don't know that much about that particular area other than I know San Antonio was there. And so you've taken the urban communities of Bexar County and aligned them with rural communities in Wilson and also Karnes County. Is that correct?
Well, it's much like my...
Yet again, you've been watching the latest with regard to the Texas redistricting battle, one of the many topics that will be discussed throughout the show right here on the Live Zone. Yet again, welcome to the show, and truly appreciate you joining us on this Feel Good Thursday. We'll start off with some of the local stories we're following throughout the afternoon. A man and woman now behind bars after scamming a local elderly woman out of Count some $640,000 through a gold bar scheme. The 27-year-old and 28-year-old suspects of Stockton, California, were taken into custody Tuesday and charged with first-degree fraud. Meanwhile, a lot of folks really concerned with regard to what's going on about that. That scheme began about 1 year ago when the elderly D.C. woman's computer crashed. Well, she set up a pop-up message that her identity had been stolen and, well, said to contact a customer service member. The fake customer service reps told her that her financial information had been compromised, so they advised her to make multiple wire transfers and to purchase gold coins. Well, they did that in order to transfer it to them for safekeeping. MPD's Financial and Cyber Crimes Unit now working with the FBI. They believe the suspects may be part of a nationwide network. Switching gears to politics, boy, it's a critical meeting with peace between Russia and Ukraine on the line. This after word that the leader of the free world in Russia will now meet, perhaps as early as next week. Meanwhile, President Trump doubling down on a potential federal takeover of the nation's capital. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Eric Faddis, attorney and political strategist, back here on the Live Zone. Always good to see you, my friend.
Great to be with you, Guy.
So, Eric, let's jump into this. It is official. The Kremlin now confirming that President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet in the coming days. At issue, obviously, putting an end to the war between Russia and Ukraine. Putin now floating the idea of meeting in the UE for, well, let's say a peace meeting, if you will. The question is, what needs to be said, what needs to be done in order for this meeting to be successful?
Well, hey, I mean, this is going to be a negotiation, and Trump is reportedly good at that. Look at Russia. Their economy is truly struggling. They haven't had the successes in this war that they've wanted. Trump has even threatened to impose tariffs on Russia. So Trump has some leverage here. I think he's also going to have to give up some things on behalf of Ukraine. Perhaps territory that's already occupied, like Crimea and some other small municipalities, might have to go by the wayside to reach some kind of compromise. I think it's going to be incremental over time. I don't think we're going to have a full, peace treaty after this meeting, but it could be a meaningful step in the right direction.
Yeah, as you put it, a step in the right direction. And yet again, all eyes will be on that meeting if and when it occurs. Speaking of President Trump, we now know the latest round of tariffs on dozens of America's trading partners. Well, Eric, it's now in effect. The new wave of tariffs mark a substantial escalation in trade tensions that could, well, really constitute the biggest change to the global economy in nearly a century. What should we expect, Eric, as a result of these newly imposed tariffs?
Guys, surely when these tariff talks started, there were a lot of concerns about, hey, is the cost going to be passed on to the consumer? In fairness, there have already been tariffs in place, not to this level, but there have been that Trump has imposed. And by and large, our economy truly hasn't seen that sort of cataclysmic economic consequence where the consumer's goods are, jumping up, to double the price or something like that. And so, I think it kind of makes sense to stay the course a little bit. Trump has some discretion here, and this is sort of his wheelhouse. And so we'll have to see how this plays out. But so far, it hasn't been as alarmist as some folks have been worried about.
Well, if you happen to be Toyota, perhaps that's a different story. We know that Toyota now stating that they're going to take a hit in the neighborhood of some $10 billion, and I say that with a B, $10 billion as a result of these new tariffs. And Eric, as we know, numbers don't lie. It's obvious that these tariffs are not working in their favor.
There will surely be macro effects, especially on huge corporations, on large manufacturing, on importing, exporting, that kind of thing. That's without question. But will that result in a Toyota costing twice as much as it does now? I don't see such a projection. But then again, this sort of an approach at this level of tariff is rather unprecedented. So a lot of uncertainty in the economic picture remains.
Yeah, speaking of uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty right here in the nation's capital. It all surrounds what President Trump will do with regard to a potential federal takeover. The president doubling down yet again, stating that, hey, if I have it my way, that's exactly what will happen. But wait, there's more, Eric. The president also stating that should that happen, he might even bring in the National Guard. The question is, does he have the power to do so?
President Trump talks a big game, and he's sort of fond of making these bombastic threats and doesn't always have the legal authority behind it. Look, I don't think Trump could take over the entire city of D.C. I think that would require an act of Congress. Now, could Trump take over the D.C. police? That's a little bit more of a legal gray area. Could he call in the National Guard? Typically, there have to be emergency scenarios that would meet a legal threshold to allow for that. I don't think such scenarios have existed, some assaults and that kind of thing. That happens in every city. And so I think this is a lot of talk, but Trump has been known to try and step outside of those parameters before. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this plays out, specifically for me, and I would state a lot of my colleagues, because, well, heck, even for you, Eric, a lot of times you too are based right here in the nation's capital. Let's move on to the Lone Star State. Of course, they say everything happens in Texas. Well, it's a lot bigger. This is a big issue. In this case, we're talking about the FBI has now agreed to cooperate with Texas state law enforcement to locate the 50 Democratic legislators who left the state to avoid a vote on redistricting. Now, for days, Texas Republicans have been threatening the state legislators with legal consequences for breaking the quorum, a sentiment that President Trump also echoed. Eric, the bottom line here, what the heck is happening and what do you think will end up happening?
These warrants that were issued by Texas are not like an arrest warrant for murder or something like that. They're civil warrants, and they're probably only enforceable within the state lines of Texas. The FBI coming forward and agreeing to cooperate with Texas on something that's outside of the FBI's interstate jurisdiction is puzzling and I think divisive and totally the wrong move. I'm not sure the FBI would even be able to kind of find somebody, a Democratic legislator in another state, and extradite them back to Texas. I don't think they have the legal authority to do that. And so perhaps it's a lot of bluster to try and, get these Democratic lawmakers scared and get them to come back. But the legal authority behind it is really dubious, I think.
Yeah, it's plain and simple. Speaking of big, everything bigger in Texas, it's a big mess. Something hopefully they could eventually get settled. We'll end with this, Eric, and that is one of Joe Biden's former top communication advisors now set to appear and scheduled to be with an interview, if you will, before the House Oversight Committee, their probe on the former president's decline and possible efforts to conceal it from the public. My question to you, Eric, is what's the ultimate goal here for the Republicans?
What is the goal? Is it just to kind of like slander these Democrats who were aligned with Biden at the time? Or is it to truly investigate whether our commander in chief had the capacity to discharge his duties? That's, depends on who you ask there. But from a legal slant, what they could be looking at too is if Biden did not have the legal competency to be issuing orders, including pardons, is there a question as to whether those pardons were lawful? Is there a question as to whether those folks pardoned, like Fauci and the like, could still be prosecuted? Those are questions that could arise in the coming days as this investigation proceeds.
As we say, we'll have to wait and see. Yet again, Mr. Eric Faddis, attorney and political strategist, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Make it a great day, Eric.
Likewise, my friend.
Well, as the Trump administration rolls out new tariffs today, small businesses across the country are bracing for their impacts. Those tariffs will likely raise material costs, resulting in higher prices for customers. Joining us to discuss this and so much more is Julie Margetta Morgan. She is the president of Century Foundation and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Julie, truly a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so it's the million-dollar question, well, perhaps the multi-billion-dollar question with regard to these new tariffs. A lot of folks crying foul. I'm curious, your take on the latest tariffs that have now been implemented.
Well, I think we really need to start from the basics here. Small businesses in America were already struggling. Over the past year, we saw that bankruptcies among small businesses were up by about 30%. So the businesses that we really want to see thrive, that we want to see kind of be the backbone of our local communities, were already taking a huge hit. And now with these tariffs, I think we're seeing businesses do the best they can to try to stockpile goods and mitigate the impact on their customers. But there's no doubt that they're going to start incurring those costs in the coming weeks and months, and they're going to have to pass those costs on to their customers. That's going to mean higher prices. In many cases, that's going to mean fewer jobs because these small businesses are going to really struggle to sustain themselves.
Julie, you wrote an op-ed in Rolling Stone, and one of the things that you highlighted is that 6 in 10, count them, 6 in 10 Americans now blame President Trump for their financial distress, if you will. Do tell.
Yeah, I think Americans are really paying attention to what's happening in the world right now. They're seeing the prices at the grocery store, they're seeing the prices at the gas pump. But our survey also showed that people are cognizant of, the prices for goods that are kind of those big purchases that we all need to make that weigh on our minds, like education, healthcare, housing. They're looking for the president to solve those problems. He promised in many cases to solve those problems during his campaign, and they're not seeing the results. And now we're seeing them really, really struggle with their finances. Our poll also showed that about 1 in 4 people are skipping meals just to pay for the basics, and about 40% of people are dipping into their savings to pay their debt. So they're really struggling right now, and they're turning their blame towards the president.
Julie, it's no secret. Influence, well, it happens to be everything. In this case, we now know that according to a newly released study, America's influence has somewhat shrunk as a regard to these tariffs. Would you agree?
I'm sorry. The question is, has our influence shrunk?
That is correct. America's influence overall. A lot of folks actually crying foul yet again and stating that because of the tariffs, well, America's influence now shrinking.
You know, I think the rest of the world is watching what's happening here. They're seeing a president who's acting in a really chaotic manner that is not good for the global economy and also not good for the economy of our country. So it's really hard to see how our influence would grow under those kinds of circumstances.
Yet again, we have been speaking with Julie Margetta Morgan. She is the president of Century Foundation and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. I truly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Well, it's become a thing of the norm. Flash flooding throughout the DMV. As of July 15th, more than 3,000, count them, 3,000 flash flood warnings have been issued in communities across the U.S. That's the highest on record. That's also cause for concern if you happen to be in the market for a new and/or used vehicle, as many have been flooded and sustained serious damage. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Mr. Ben Perico, Territory Manager at AAA Mid-Atlantic. Ben, good to see you, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, but of course, obviously, this is a big deal, especially if you're looking to purchase a car, especially if you're not sure how to go about to do so with regard to a car that has sustained flood damage. Do tell.
Yes, one of the challenges that many motorists face is when they're looking for a used car, how do we find a good used car? Cars can be moved around through different parts of the country, and unfortunately, their backgrounds can be hidden. So it's important for a consumer to use items like a Carfax or National Highway Safety Institute, a lot of different groups that will help you track the history of a vehicle. The other thing that's very, very important is having a good qualified mechanic being able to check a car out for you that you are intending to purchase. The pre-inspection or pre-purchase inspection is incredibly important.
You know, Ben, I got to be honest with you. I was truly surprised to discover that even partially submerged cars, they could really pose an issue.
Yes, very much. One of the insidious things about water damage is, in most cases, it doesn't happen right away. It takes a while for that moisture to start creating issues in a vehicle. So even if you think your car's okay, it was in a parking garage that got flooded, or low spot, or you drove through a part that was a little deep, you might think you've escaped something, but it'll take a while for that water damage to really manifest itself in a vehicle. So it could be months before you start seeing different electrical gremlins.
One of the things that you all are so great about is making us aware with regard to little tricks of the trade, as they say, that one can do in order to spot as to whether or not that car has sustained any potential water damage. I absolutely love this. To my understanding, you scrutinize the seatbelt for mildew. In this case, you pull it all the way to the top and look for the mildew stains, if you will, that happen to be at the bottom of the seatbelt. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's the little, I mean, if you just use a little bit of common sense, the water's going to get to the low spot of the car first. So if we have an opportunity to look at the carpet under the rear seat or under the driver, just take bend down, take a peek under that driver's seat, because that's the low spot. If this car had water, that's one of the first places it's going to be. So yeah, you pull the seatbelt all the way out, all the way to the very end, and look for traces of little mud or debris or something like that. Same thing for pulling up an edge of a carpet. Even running your hands under the seat to see if there's any dampness, or you get a bad smell on your hands or something like that. Just little things that you can do as a consumer to make sure that that car is everything it's cracked up to be.
Ben, I'm not a betting man, but let's say I happen to bet. I'm willing to bet right this second there's someone watching our show saying, you know what, I purchased a car yesterday, a week ago. Oh my gosh, they're going to go out and look at that car and, well, dear God, I hope not, but perhaps they will find some water damage. Do they have any recourse at all?
Well, depends. If it's a private party sale, Could be tough. If you've bought it from a licensed used car dealer, then certainly you have Better Business Bureau, the state's attorney's office, that sort of thing to go to bat for you. Um, Private sales, again, that's where we're going to go back to make sure you have a trusted mechanic that can look at that car before you sign the paper and pay the money.
And with that being said, Ben, yet again, this is something of a serious issue. I would suspect so much so that perhaps, well, you brought it to the forefront. Can you explain that? Can you talk about how big of a deal it is yet again that, well, AAA is addressing this, which means it's really happening?
It does. Unfortunately, in many cases, you'll have a flood damaged car and the insurance company will declare that car total loss. And someone will purchase that car at auction and they will move it to a different state, retitle it, and no pun intended, but they wash the title. It may come back to Maryland or another state, and its history is basically buried. So a customer thinks they're getting a clean car when in fact, this is a car that maybe shouldn't be on the road or shouldn't be offered for sale.
Well, with that being said, you have now been warned. Yet again, we have been speaking with Ben Perricone. He is the territory manager at AAA Mid-Atlantic and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Ben, truly appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. When it comes to playing nice, well, that's easier said than done if discussing tariffs between the U.S. and India. President Trump has accused India of undermining American efforts to counter Russia's invasion of Ukraine by purchasing Russian oil. Now the president has slapped India with a 25% tariff and another 25% tariff set to kick in later this month. My next guest believes there is still a critical window to prevent a full-blown trade war. I'm referring to Asha Jadeja. She is a venture capitalist, global philanthropist, and leading voice on U.S.-India relations. Asha, truly a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, this is a big deal. It's the big story of the day. And I guess we can begin by simply asking and posing the question, what needs to be done in order to prevent an all-out trade war?
Most important thing right now is for us to recognize and for India to communicate that it is the only power right now that has such a strong relationship with Putin. And it has a foot in the door right now, and it has already been a peace builder between Ukraine and Russia, just exactly as President Trump wants it. And second, it is the only market stabilizer right now between as far as oil prices go. What Prime Minister Modi needs to communicate to the White House, and what I'm also trying to communicate right now, is that that doesn't mean that India does not buy oil and LNG from US, and that we should be buying more upgraded weapon systems from the US, and opening up the Indian market, especially to American automobiles on the India side. So if this deal can be struck, we are looking at a deal. Basically, what President Trump wants is for Prime Minister Modi to call him and show his willingness to strike a deal. And if that happens, we are looking at this whole situation clearing up in less than 2 weeks before the August 21 deadline.
Yeah, as you just stated, it's all about highlighting the strategic agreement, making a strategic agreement. But many would argue it's very complicated, tedious at that. And I think you did an amazing job with touching on some of the things that need to happen. Should that happen, when that happens, yet again, will all of this go, let's say, to the wayside?
No, none of this will go to the wayside. I think what's going to happen is, look, the negotiation has been going on since February, so this is nothing new. And they have, both the Indian side and the US side have been talking about multiple things, including chemicals, fertilizers, and pharmacy for a long time. But what we are going to see right now is that President Trump does not want very punitive measures on tariffs on India, simply because India is of such extreme importance in the Indo-Pacific security against China, that we don't want to have this alienation, or most importantly, we don't want to drive India into the arms of China in terms of selling some of its products to China.
Sure.
So in order to save us from that, it's critical that we strike a deal soon, and I think it will happen. It's in the works right now.
Well, as they say, if it's not one thing, it's another. In this case, I'm making reference to the current conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, but perhaps India can play a role in brokering a deal, could they not?
Absolutely. And India is the only country in the world with a strong relationship, an old relationship with Russia. And it has already been to Russia, and it has been to Ukraine, and it's already in the middle of negotiations, peace negotiations between the two countries. And this is something that must be highlighted and must be spoken about much more aggressively in the White House, and see India as a peace builder. I think it will get there. And I have a feeling that President Trump knows this very well. Only thing is, they need to be speaking much more on the phone. Prime Minister Modi and President Trump need to be speaking much more on the phone.
Which leads me to my next question, or segue, as I should say. In this case, time is critical. India must act now. There is no room for, let's say, procrastination.
Correct. Absolutely. If the deadline is August 21, and already first of all, the tariffs have already kicked in on August 4. So if the deadline is August 21, President Trump and Prime Minister Modi need to get on the phone, and they need to speak now, like today or tomorrow, and start negotiating on what this new sort of a deal would look like, where India agrees to buy weapons and agrees to buy more energy from the US. It is in India's interest to make sure that American hegemony continues in the oil, especially in the energy field. That's what President Trump wants, and that's what India should be looking for. We don't want China or Iran or one of these powers having hegemony on the energy market. So, and since Prime Minister Modi agrees with that, I don't see what's the reservation in both the leaders getting on the phone quickly. I have a feeling that's going to happen soon.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. And as we say, we'll have to wait and see. Yet again, we have been speaking with Asha Dedeja. She is a venture capitalist, global philanthropist, and leading voice on U.S.-India relations. Truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. How about a little lights, camera, showtime, shall we? Perhaps you see my next guest on Raya and the Last Dragon, or CW's The Flash, or better yet, Star's Hightown. But now she's doing her thing on Marvel Animation's new action-adventure series, Eyes of Wakanda, which follows the adventures of brave Wakanda warriors throughout history. Please welcome Jonah Shao, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Good to see you, my friend, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited that Eyes of Wakanda is doing so well right now, and people are, in general, really enjoying it. So I'm thrilled.
I got to tell you, this is just so cool. I got a chance to watch a little bit of it earlier today.
Okay.
I absolutely love it. I just think it's so cool, and what I love most is how I always wonder who is the real person behind, let's say, even acting, like well, that's what you're doing. But let's say I see you on TV, in this case, the animated figure, the action figure, if you will. It's just so cool. You just bring it to life in so many ways. How do you do that?
Thank you. Well, I give credit to the writers for sure, because I really appreciate them writing Iron Fist as this powerful female who's also very vulnerable and so relatable in terms of falling in love, feeling, I don't want to give too much away, then feeling a little betrayed and hurt. And so I think bringing those elements and exploring the different layers of her was really, really fun. And I think makes her that much more powerful.
Yeah. Jonah, how do you prepare for a role like this? I was thinking about it. Maybe I would go in the bathroom, look in the mirror and just, I don't know, shake my head a couple of times just to try to get the mood right. I'm just so curious how you do it, because you do it oh so well.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So depending on what's required. So with the emotional prep, I think for me, it's about what can I bring that's true and authentic about me to a role. So I see acting definitely as about exploring the truth and really bringing three-dimensionality to a character. And then when it comes to like efforts and physical stuff, especially with voiceover, I've done push-ups before, like where I'm like, and then I'm supposed to be really out of breath. So that's a lot easier. So I think it depends on what is called for in that particular scene. And in this case, I actually got to work live with some of the other actors, which almost never happens in voiceover. So I was so excited that I got to do that.
Speak to what it is to be a part of a powerhouse. And what I mean by that is we're talking about Marvel. I mean, it really doesn't get any bigger than that. And to now know that your name is aligned with that, how cool is that?
Yeah, it's very surreal, and I feel grateful is an understatement to be trusted with such an impactful role. I knew it was an incredible honor. The fan reaction and just the what Iron Fist holds for so many people, I just feel like this great responsibility. So I think that's something that I've been really thinking about lately, and just for me also what it means to play a type of superhero that I didn't really get to see many superheroes that look like me growing up.
Sure.
Often most of the time when I did see Asian actors, they were playing like stereotypes or the sexual object, or just missing from the narrative completely. And I'm so glad that has changed a lot, thankfully, over the last few decades. And I'm glad to be a part of what is now many, many powerful, strong female characters.
You know what I get when I see Iron Fist? I get a sense of empathy. And I also get that with you, and I'm going to tell you why. I just couldn't believe this when I read it. And that is, you were scammed by a fake talent agency. Now, instead of, going to your room crying and just calling it a day, what did you do? Oh, you fought back in a major way by creating your own, if you will, in order to really help, well, let's say aspiring actors starting out to really understand what it is and what to look out for. I think you were able to align that in that character, were you not?
Yeah, thank you. I guess for me, yeah, I've always been a protector of sorts. And so I think everyone has an origin story. And for me, good research, I was scammed and I was deeply, deeply ashamed and didn't tell anyone for so many years, basically. And then I realized it was very common, and my frustration that this was being done to so many people, so many artists that really just care about creating art in the world, that like fueled this protector in me. And so, yeah, I started Career Activate to protect and fight for actors. So I'm really grateful to get to do that. And in a like interesting way, it's kind of like Iron Fist protecting Kunlun. And so maybe I see that in my role with my business, is to protect fellow artists, and also as an actor, fighting for underrepresented voices.
Yeah. So, hey, you do that for news anchors?
Anytime, you let me know, okay?
Hey, I'll have
Who do
my
I- who
people
do I
call
gotta
your people.
punch?
We'll do that. Hey, Jonah, as we wrap up, I'm curious. So what's on the horizon for you? I mean, you've just done so much, and I would really like to know, what do you aspire to do next?
Ooh, that's a great question. I have always been inspired by the role of Mulan. As a matter of fact, like I feel like I channeled a little bit of what I saw was Mulan's energy into Iron Fist, and I would love to play the live action version of Iron Fist if that was ever if I ever got that opportunity. That would be a dream come true.
Wow. Well, as they say, we will speak that into existence.
Yes.
Yet again, Jonah Shao. You can check out her amazing work on Eyes of Wakanda. What network is that on, by the way, Jonah?
Disney Plus.
There you go. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Absolutely love it. Truly appreciate you coming on the Live Zone and taking time out. I know you were busy.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
You
the
bet.
questions.
All right, guys. Well, if it's happening and it's happening now, we're taking you there. In this case, Montgomery County officials joining members of the Kemp Mill Civic Association for a ribbon cutting to announce the completion of a new pedestrian bridge in Kemp Mill. Let's go ahead and take a look in.
Transportation, I'm really happy to be here today. Oh, do I need to turn this on? Okay, somebody's going to have to help me with that because I don't see a button. Oh, there we go. Better? No? Like I know, they're making fun of me because I'm loud. How about now? Yeah? All right. All right, I'll start over again. Welcome. My name is Emily DeTita, and I head up communications for the Montgomery County Department of Transportation. I'm so happy to be here today. My director, Chris Conklin, is traveling with his family today, so he couldn't make it. But I know that he's regretful about missing this. He's an engineer himself, and anytime that we build anything and are presenting it to a community, I know that's one of his favorite things. So, but I'm happy to be here. MCDOT built the bridge that's behind me today, but not without support of our elected officials. My job is a lot of fun because I get to go around talking about all the things almost on a daily basis that we're building, sidewalks and bridges and connections, and they really do have like a ripple effect in communities. They benefit so many people, so it's a lot of fun. But nothing would get accomplished without having the support of our county executive, Mark Elrich, who has always been just a consistent support for our department. So I want to invite him up to the podium now. Thank you, Mark.
So, is this thing working? Apparently not. Okay. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So this is really an exciting project. I don't want to start just by thanking Sam Melamed. He brought me down here. I think it was one morning, and he said, this is what people have to go through, try to cross this creek to get to, services on the other side, and it's a real barrier, and it means a very long walk for people if they don't have a crossing here. And my first reaction was, well, why don't we go get some 2x12 lumber? And because it seemed to me a good 2x12, 16 feet long would have gotten the job done, and we could do a few of those and just build it in the neighborhood, put it over here, and it'll all be done. But of course, you can't do things like that. But that was my first instinct. But we did bring it back to the department and say, this is a project that's important, and I understood the importance to the Kemp Mill community of getting this thing done. And so I'm really excited to be here for the opening, though I gather you guys have been using it for a couple of weeks now. So it's great to be here. I also want to now acknowledge the family of Nikki Toys, a Kent Mill resident who passed away from cancer. I don't know if Max is here, but I think Zavi's not attending, but Izzy is supposed to be attending, and her husband Aaron Toys. There's a memorial plaque. Is this starting? Is that actually working? All right. And so there's a memorial plaque being placed here by the Kent Mill Civic Association. And this project's an example of what happens when local government can work with the people that it serves. The off-lane pedestrian bridge is a result of a close and successful partnership between Montgomery County and the Kent Mill Civic Association. And the Montgomery County Department of Transportation worked closely with the association and members of this community throughout the design and construction of the bridge. And the Kent Mill Association approached Montgomery County about the construction of the bridge. And it's just a really great example of what we're able to do. I got to personally witness what people endured to try to get across this, so I got the importance of making this thing actually happen. This path is important to the residents on both sides of this creek. It connects this community in a way that it wasn't connected before. So I'm glad that, we pulled this thing off. It's ADA accessible. It offers a safer access point for pedestrians. It's built to withstand flooding and severe weather. The rocks are very nice and very large. So I guess they're not going to be moved even by the bad storms we've had. And it preserves the natural path linking the communities, and it's built to last for generations. That's another thing I'm glad we were able to do, is preserve the natural path. We resisted the instinct to say, well, if I'm doing this, I might as well pave it and do it. But it's like, that's not necessary. What we needed to do is get a crossing over this creek, and we got the crossing over the creek. Creating these kind of safe, walkable, and connected communities has been a priority for the community, for the county. And building, this is not the only project we're doing. We're working on our bus rapid transit network. Construction starts this fall along Veers Mill Road. Project Connect is a new development in North Bethesda, and it creates a complete walkable community with jobs, housing, and public spaces that are accessible by public transit. And we're advancing projects under Safe Routes to School to ensure children have safe paths to school. There are 15 walkability studies right now going on in the county to find more places that we can improve safety for the kids who are going to school every day. And I just want to re-thank the MC.DOT for making this possible. They also have 12 bikeway projects that are under construction and another 12 that are in design right now. So there's a lot going on to make transportation and moving about this county simpler and to make it safer for people. And I think this community is going to benefit. This will help bring you closer together, make it easier for you to go back and forth, not just on one day a week, but to go back and forth on other times when you just might want to visit somebody. So I'm glad we've got this thing done. And thank you for your patience. Things don't always happen instantly. They do take time, and they do have to go in budgets to council. And I know Evan Glass is here from the Transportation Committee that deals with transportation. It got through that committee, and it got through the council, and all those things are necessary to make this happen. So thank you, and I'll give it back to you. And enjoy the path.
Thank you, Mark. No, I'm going to move this down a little more. Too short. I'm not wearing my heels today. We're going to invite Evan Glass. A lot of you probably know who he is. Evan Glass is one of our council members who also chairs the Transportation and Environment Committee. He's been a partner with our department for many years and has really championed pedestrian safety in this county. Evan.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the best of community, making sure we get things done to protect our residents and make sure everybody is safely able to get around their neighborhood. I would have built this a long time ago just to facilitate more people going to Ben Yehuda Pizza. I'm just going to be honest with you. And Ben Yehuda Pizza is not going anywhere, and that shopping center is not changing, by the way. But I just want to share how important neighborhood connections really are. We live in this community, and I live just down University by Blair High School. we live in our communities because we love them. We love our neighbors. We love the walkability. We love the environment. And projects like this really do bring us all together. And at this point in time, we need to come together as a community. There is so much craziness that is out there in the world. We need to continue building bridges just like this. And the pedestrian access is also critically important. As chair of the Transportation and Environment Committee and as the author of the Safe Streets Act, there are far too many people in our community who are injured and killed simply walking around the neighborhoods that we love. In the first half of this year, 208 Montgomery County residents were injured while walking, and 5 were tragically killed. So this bridge might first appear to just bring people together, but it's to make sure that we're all safe. Safe going to shul, safe visiting neighbors and friends, and quite frankly, safe as a community, because we need to continue coming together. And so I just want to thank the county executive, all of my colleagues, District 6 Councilmember Natalie Fani Gonzalez, who could not be here today, but I know has been a strong champion of this project. Because again, there is too much that divides us these days, and we need to continue building bridges just like this. So congratulations to the Kemp Mill community. Thank you for being an incredible partner in Montgomery County and for all the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Next, we're going to invite our engineering division's Bridges Section Chief, Brian Copley. For those who don't know, the county's Department of Transportation oversees over 500 bridges within the county, which they inspect and rebuild and maintain. Please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Copley. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Copley. I'm the Bridge Section Chief for the Montgomery County Department of Transportation. So we're here today celebrating the grand opening of this 50-foot span fiber reinforced polymer pedestrian bridge. Spans a tributary to the Northwest Branch. This project was a 5-year undertaking. Started in 2020 with community requests and subsequent evaluations. Design started sometime in 2022 and construction completed in 2025. Throughout the design, collaboration with the community was important. And one thing that was expressed to us as an important was to preserve as many trees through here as possible. So we took an approach to design that saved as many trees as possible. I would like to thank, for the success of the project, Rashid Abramoff, the Capital Project Manager, Mercado Consultants, who did the design and permitting, and also Anthony Curry with the Division of Highway Services, who supervised the construction. So this bridge has been added to our bridge inventory. We maintain and inspect over 500 bridges located throughout the county. These bridges include roadway bridges, pedestrian bridges, and culverts. Typically, on average, we have about 30 bridge rehab or replacement projects in design throughout the year. And typically, we have about 10 up to 10 in construction throughout the year. I'd like to point out that future requests such as this can be made through the Montgomery County 311 system. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And last but not least, we're going to invite Vice President Jonathan Agian up from the Kemp Mill Civic Association. He's the Vice President. It really just took one phone call to Jonathan to get a really good feel for the Kemp Mill neighborhood. He's so incredibly friendly and helpful and wonderful. So thank you. Please, Jonathan.
Emily, Aaron is going after me. Don't forget. County Executive Elrich, council members, Councilmember Glass, MCDOT officials, thank you for being here to inaugurate our beloved bridge. This journey began 5 years ago. Ellie and Jeff Kagan noted the eroded path was difficult to cross and would benefit from a proper bridge. After some research, I discovered the land was already a county right-of-way. Leor London and I, who Leor is here, we then launched a petition, and within a few months we had over 200 signatures. We leveraged the pedestrian master plan process to propose this crossing on a crowdsourced map, and thanks to the lobbying of Sam Melamed and a thoughtful planning process, this bridge was prioritized as the #2 bridge in the entire county among 100 proposals. This is a true testament to our community's grassroots effort. A year or two later, the bridge engineering study received a dedicated line item in the county budget, and after extensive geotechnical soil studies and a painstaking accounting of every tree and approvals from the State Department of Environment, County Department of Permitting, and even the Army Corps of Engineers, Rashi and the folks at MCDOT finalized the designs. Today we stand at the threshold of a public works project that truly embodies good governance. Instead of a top-down directive, as we've seen in some of the sector plans, this project answers the direct needs of the people. We even have new trees exactly as we requested. I want to express my gratitude to those who made this possible, every person who signed the petition, Sam, project manager Rashi Abramoff, the county council, and of course our county executive. And I see even some folks here that helped build the bridge. Thank you very much for that. It could not have happened without you. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the Toys family. Nikki Toys passed away in 2023. During her time here, Nikki created lasting bonds with many of us. Without the enthusiasm of both Nikki and her husband Aaron, this bridge would not have happened. Every part of this bridge literally crossed their driveway to get here. Aaron shared that Nikki loved nature. This house, nestled along the woods, was a perfect home for them when they moved from Colorado. It's fitting that a project born from such unity is dedicated to Nikki's memory. After a public meeting about the bridge, Brian told me he never saw a meeting so cordial and unanimous, which really speaks to the character of this community. Even the Civic Association's vote was unanimous, a rarity for infrastructure projects that often expose division among the community. This consensus truly reflects Nikki's spirit as a peacemaker. After her passing, the Civic Association voted to dedicate this bridge to Nikki. With generous donations from Ben Yehuda Pizza, Sam and Pam Melamed, and the Civic Association, we commissioned a memorial. While Nikki never would have wanted this attention, we placed this marker here at the foot of the bridge as a community remembrance for this beautiful person. I'll now call up Aaron to say a few words about Nikki.
Before I talk about Nikki, I just also want to extend my thanks to our county government, to Rashid and Anthony. They did a great job. To the construction workers, and everybody involved in the project. Sam, Jonathan, the Kent Mill Civic Association, everybody that signed the petition, etc. When we moved into the neighborhood about 4 years ago this summer, and we were informed by the agent, there's a crossing here, and you'll see lots of traffic. And Nikki and I were only too happy to have neighbors crossing through and by our property. And we're also only too pleased to, they also told us that there would hopefully be a bridge coming soon, and we supported it from the very beginning, knowing that this was not only for our benefit, but for the benefit of the whole community. So I'll just say a few words about Nikki. They're actually not my words. They're words that a good friend of hers wrote, and I'm going to get very emotional. But I just wish I had the, I wish I could have articulated these, but nonetheless. So, Nikki, Nahama bat Shmuel Tzadak. She was my best friend, my rock, my moral compass. The only one, the one and only person in this whole world who truly understood me. She could see inside me, right through me to the core. She could read between the lines and understand even the things I didn't say, sometimes even before I understood them myself, always without ill will or judgment. An angel on earth, it was like she had direct access to an ultimate divine knowledge, a kind of nevuah or prophecy. In layman's terms, we might call it empathy. But the crazy thing is, I'm fairly certain I wasn't the only one who felt this way. I will venture to guess, though I cannot say for certain, that there are at least a handful of others scattered throughout this earth, that probably dozens, who may have thought of Nikki as their best friend, as the only person who truly understood them and saw the depths not only of their truth, but the whole world's. Always wearing a beatific smile, she had a way about her that made her feel like you were the center of her world, the world, when she was with you. Her capacity to listen wholly and completely and lend her ear to you, her complete attention and love was uniquely unparalleled. To know her was to love her, you could not. You couldn't not. I had the good fortune to know Nikki over a period of almost 25 years. Throughout this time, my mom met her only a couple of times, as did my daughter, and yet they were both beyond devastated at the news of her loss. They expressed what a special soul she was, and they felt an unbelievable connection to her just from the brief encounters with her. Maybe it was because my feelings for her shone through me so strongly that those closest to me felt it. In fact, my kids all commented more than once how unusually happy I seemed to be when she was around. Maybe it was her beautiful accent or gorgeous countenance, but maybe, if you ask me, it was just the essence of who she was. I doubt she ever came across someone that didn't immediately fall in love with her, as I clearly did. She had a presence and uncommon charisma that I can only describe as a combination of God, love, humanity that transcended ordinary social norms. As exemplified by her name, Nechama, she was an indelible source of comfort to all who knew her. She was beautiful inside and out, brilliant, kind, giving, first as a peer counselor in college, and then as a graduate student in conflict resolution. She was a humanitarian, a light unto the nations. She literally wanted to save the world. She couldn't stand injustice of any kind, on any scale, large or small. She was real. She called it like it was, and she didn't put up with any nonsense. She wasn't interested in the small stuff and fluff of any kind. She always see the big picture, and she always knew the right thing to do in any situation. She was wise beyond her years. Despite all she suffered, all the time she experienced illness and tragedy, more than her fair share, she truly loved life, she loved God, and she loved people. But more than anything or anyone, she loved her family, her children, her husband, and her parents and her sisters. She adored them and would have moved heaven and earth for them. She did, in fact. She moved again and again, always looking for the perfect place to find what would be the right fit, the right environment to nurture her family, her kids' future. Everything she did was for them. I am devastated, and I'm heartbroken. And I can't and I don't want to accept that she's gone. I still keep expecting her to call and disperse this nightmare. It seems to go on and on far too long. How can we go on from here? How do we make our way in this world without our guardian angel by our side? I don't have an answer. I don't understand what God intended or what he was thinking to take such a beautiful soul away from this world at such a young age. It's not fair, and I'm angry. Livid, actually. But who am I? I'm nobody. I don't hold the monopoly on grief. I'm just a bystander who got the benefit, however briefly, from the light she shone onto the world. It's not my place to feel anything but sad, however difficult that might be. So thank you all for listening to that and enduring my emotions. But I really appreciate all your support and everyone here and the memorial that the Civic Association put together. Thank you.
know if you guys were close enough to see the hummingbird that was hovering behind him, but that was a nice touch. Okay, now we're going to cut the ribbon. So I'd like to invite the county executive and all of our speakers up. I'd also like to invite the Toys family. I understand that Nikki had 3 sons, 2 of which are here today, and I'd like to invite them up. 2 they're here. I know Izzy, the youngest, is going to help us cut the ribbon. So Izzy, if you could come forward. Immediately after the ribbon cutting, we'll unveil the memorial, and we'll take some pictures there as well. I'd also like to invite the Highway Division team who helped build this bridge. If you could come up and flank the bridge as well for pictures, all of you in the yellow, come on up. Don't be shy. We see you.
And there you have it, yet again marking the official opening of a new pedestrian bridge in Silver Spring. That bridge, by the way, a notable addition to the Kemp Mill community, is set to provide a valuable link over a side stream to the Anacostia River, improving pedestrian access and safety. The walkway had become increasingly difficult to navigate due to erosion from an expanding creek bed. The new pedestrian-friendly structure restores and reopens the pathway for all the community to enjoy. Yet again, a big congratulations going out to the folks right there in Montgomery County. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. This is the Fox 5 Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It is now 5 minutes past the top of the hour, and we now focus on the latest developments surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein case, a story that has shocked the world and raised critical questions about power, accountability, and justice. As new details continue to emerge, we explore the ongoing legal battles connected to Epstein's estate and hear from experts on the implications for survivors seeking justice. Joining us to provide insight and analysis is none other than Marlo Greer. Marlo is a federal trial attorney and founder of Greer Law, and kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. Marlo, good to see you and welcome to the show.
Good to see you. Good afternoon. This is certainly a salacious story, isn't it? And that's the problem, is that everybody wants to know. The issue is the CSAM materials, which CSAM is just short for child sexual assault materials. The word CSAM came up as opposed to child pornography because we wanted to focus on the victims and make it victim centered. In my practice, we help victims and survivors of CSAM. So that's really the question here with this grand jury materials. Do they release the materials because we know that they contain CSAM, and what rights do the victims have? It's such an interesting question because nobody's really talking about, let's talk to the victims, or
Sure.
let's ask the victims, maybe have the secrecy talk about the victims and talk to the victims and determine whether or not they want these materials released.
Well, a case in point, a number of Americans crying foul after getting word that Vice President J.D. Vance met with a number of top Republicans at his residence. The topic of discussion, what to do with this Jeffrey Epstein case. A number of survivors, if you will, and or the family members of the victims, I should say, speaking out, stating that, hey, why not have the victims there as well to say what they have on their minds? Your response to that?
I think that's exactly right, because what is important here is the victims and survivors. And really, it just depends on where they are in their journey. Do they consider themselves a survivor? Do they consider themselves a victim? And how would this help them move forward? And that's the major concern, is if this would re-victimize them by issuing these materials to the public. That's not what we want. And really, this should be victim-centered and victim-focused.
Can you discuss the legal strategies, if you will, used by Epstein's defense team? That I'm just trying to figure out how this all came to be. Obviously, he's no longer with us, and obviously we now know the focus is on as a co-conspirator, if you will. I'm just confused as to how we got here and why we remain in this current position with regard to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, that really is the question. Why did this come up again? And in my mind, it is because it is a salacious story. The public wants to know, and the public wants what they call a list. They want to know who's on that list. Everyone has said there's not a list, but essentially there's a list that's not a list, right? If the law enforcement officers were the ones that testified for the grand jury, and so they are going to be the ones that have this material. And there are likely names in there, and it's accountability. Why did we get here when we got here? I think obviously that's political, with Trump calling for the release, now not calling for the release, secret meetings, talking to Ms. Maxwell, those types of things. It's just a renewed interest in, hey, who was really involved in this and who victimized these children?
In all fairness, quite honestly, you know, the focus seems to be right now on President Trump, but we also know that former President Bill Clinton also had a relationship with Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. I'm curious, what does the Epstein case reveal about the broader issues of sexual exploitation and trafficking in our society?
It reveals that it exists on a very large scale. The interest in it is somewhat difficult, like I said, from a victim standpoint, but I believe that it's also helpful because it's bringing these things to light that we have been hiding for so many years, and these victims afraid of coming forward. And it's really no surprise to anyone, right, that Clinton was friends with this man. And so, you know, how can you go to parties and be associated with this person and see clearly underage girls and not understand what is going on? I believe that the implications are helpful in that it brings more awareness to this issue. However, I'm not really seeing the victim-centered that I would like to see. It's very focused on the grand jury and why is the grand jury secret. It's focused on Ms. Maxwell and her rights because she is appealing her case, and she does have that right, and the grand jury is supposed to be secret. But I think it's very important to bring light to these issues and the broad scope of involvement of many, many high-powered individuals.
Yeah. And so with that being said, let's shed more light on the victims themselves. In this case, we'll end with this, and that is the challenges that these victims are facing on a daily basis as they seek justice, as they try to bring, well, quite honestly, an end to all of the turmoil that they have faced.
The problem is that there isn't an end. There was a statement that I read once that meant so much to me and really shows what survivors are going through, which is, in his mind, it took minutes. In my mind, it lasts forever.
Wow. Well said. Yeah, just truly disturbing. And yet again, hopefully we can bring some closure to this and/or justice for the victims that suffered at the behalf of none other than Jeffrey Epstein. We've been speaking with Marlo Greer, yet again a federal trial attorney and founder of Greer Law. Thank you so much, Marlo, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. It's the Fox. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. So did you hear? The USDA has dubbed August Tree Check Month. What does this mean and why does it matter? Well, you see, detecting tree pests early on can significantly reduce the damage inflicted by invasive insects. Knowing which one of these bad bugs lurk in the DMV and recognizing the telltale signs of their destructive presence, well, that is vital. That leads me to my next guest. I'm pleased to say we're joined yet again by arborist Lou Meyer back here on the Live Zone. Lou, good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for being patient. I know you have been waiting for quite some time, and welcome back to the Live Zone.
It's so great to be with you once again. And that Kemp Mill Bridge story was just an inspirational story, and the fact that they protected trees and planted trees and they realized the importance of trees. We do a lot of work in Montgomery County, and their environmental division is just fantastic with their management of their urban canopy. So good stuff there.
Yeah, well, I tell you, when it comes to you, it's great stuff. We had you on, I guess, a month or two ago. We got a big response with regard to your segment. So yet again, truly appreciate you coming back on with us. So let's jump into this. Can you tell us, because there's so many folks, when we were talking about this in the newsroom earlier, they said, Guy, I wasn't really familiar with Tree Check Month, and why is it so important? Well, that's why we have you here, sir, because you're about to educate us all.
Yeah, so trees are, as the Kemp Mill story talked about, and other ones too, trees are an extremely important part of our lives. For everything from, things to look at, great things to look at, to habitat for wildlife, to creating the food that we eat, right? Everything starts with the solar-powered vegetable plants, fruit plants, and the rest that feed our livestock and then feed us directly as well. But as good as anything is, there's always the flip side, and we have to protect what we have. And that's where arborists come into play with things like Tree Check Month in August. So there are pests and diseases and other issues that affect our urban forest. And August gives us a chance to focus on some of those invasive pests that we see coming into not just the DMV region, but the United States as a whole. We're a global economy. Things move from continent to continent faster than ever before. And with that growth comes unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So yes, as you said, trees are under attack by different pests and diseases, and there are a number of them in the DMV area that we're focusing on. Hemlock woolly adelgid is one that affects our hemlock trees. This has been around for a long time, but it's a slow-moving pest. If you go down into Shenandoah Forest, you'll see a lot of dieback from the hemlock woolly adelgid. The ambrosia beetle is another one that's affecting oaks and maples and some beeches. This is an insect that bores into the tree, feeds on the sugars, and then inoculates a fungal pathogen into the tree that girdles it and kills them. The emerald ash borer has done a number on our ash trees in the eastern United States. Most viewers are probably aware of that one. If they don't know what it is exactly, they've heard of emerald ash borer and know that the ash forests are in decline. And then the big one right now, spotted lanternfly,
Oh,
right?
my gosh.
That's everywhere and everyone's talking about it. And that's a big one that's affecting our forests as well.
Lou, I'm so glad you touched on that. It's so interesting. The other day, I got off air and I went to go grab a bite. I opened the door, the front door here in the building in Bethesda. That's where we're based at. And before I could walk 2 feet, I was covered with those with those bugs.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to tell you, they are somewhat aggressive, I would argue.
They can be aggressive. One thing I want to make sure that your viewers know is that they're not dangerous. They can't bite you. They can't sting you. There's no reason to fear them as human beings. Also, our pets aren't affected by them that we know of yet. My dogs will smell them. They haven't eaten them yet, but they're out there. So I'm standing here. I'm actually in Howard County right now along a roadway that's full of a tree called the Tree of Heaven, Ailanthus altissima, which is the spotted lanternfly's favorite tree to feed on. And they're just loaded with lanternflies. It feels like it's raining on me right now. Their honeydew is dripping on me. What they do, this bug in particular, is they feed on the sugars in the trees. So they drink that fluid, and then they excrete or poop out this sweet, sticky substance that coats anything underneath it with a sweet, sticky, clear substance. Yeah. So
Lou, I got to ask you, because and yet again, I have lived pretty much in the DMV for the majority of my now life, middle-aged life.
Yeah.
I've not seen these before. And so I guess the million-dollar question is, where do these guys come from?
Right. So they were discovered in Bucks County up by Philadelphia about 10 or 12 years ago. And they came from Asia. I'm not exactly sure which country, but somewhere in Asia. They showed up here, and they've spread since then. I've got them crawling all over me. They've spread since then, and in different regions. Now, they travel mostly, so they're hoppers. They don't fly, so they hop. So they can't travel by themselves very far. But in the fall, the female lays her eggs on stationary objects, and she puts this kind of, looks like a mud coating over them. And so they're not like eggs falling off of something. They're pressed up against, they're stuck to the thing. And so semi-trucks, trailers sit for months at a time in the fall, trains that sit for a long time, RVs, trailers that you would pull with your car that sit for a long time. The females will lay her eggs on that. And then when you or those vehicles travel to other areas, they carry the eggs with them. And that's primarily how they're spreading. When it first popped up, we did a quarantine on vehicular travel up and down I-95 and the eastern corridors, and it's since broken out of that. But we're doing our best to slow the spread.
Yeah, gosh, I got to tell you, I know we're talking about Tree Check Month, but this was it's a topic that, in essence, has really affected me personally, and I would say a lot of my colleagues and the folks living right here in the DMV overall. As we get ready to wrap up, Lou, I guess, what is the one thing that we should all take away? What is the one thing that we can do in order to, well, keep Mother Earth a little bit greener and a little bit happier as, yet again, we celebrate Tree Check Month?
That's exactly the right question to be asking. So what we want to do to help protect our trees is plant native species, so species that are native to the area. And you can reach out to a landscape firm, an arboricultural firm, or all of your nurseries are pretty familiar with that. Native trees are less susceptible to invasion by other pests. They're more likely to survive in our area. Also, reach out to your arborist. If you have suspicion of an infestation on your property, if you have trees that you want to protect, we make free house calls. We'll come out, we'll assess your trees, we'll provide a management plan for you to help protect them so that the benefits that they provide ecologically, personally, environmentally can last for years to come.
Good stuff. Well, vital information. Yet again, we have been speaking with arborist Lou Meyer with some important information that yet all of us can benefit from. Truly appreciate you being patient, sir, and truly appreciate you joining us right here on the Live Zone. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, Guy. Great to be here.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, the back-to-school rush is in full swing as millions of students get ready to return to the classroom. While pencils, notebooks, and backpacks are still on every shopping list, there's an essential new tool for students. You probably already guessed it. Talking about artificial intelligence, yes, AI. And with Americans projected to spend, count them, $39.4 billion on back-to-school shopping, AI is also becoming a must-have money-saving tool for parents. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Robert Ferrara, Google tech expert, back here on the Live Zone. Robert, it's been quite some time. Good to see you again, my friend.
Good morning. Great to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
So, Robert, let's jump into this. First of all, I can't believe we're talking about going back to school already. I can tell you right here in the D.C. area, the kiddos out in Culpeper County returned, what was it, 2 days ago? And so I guess it's become a reality. And with that, a lot of parents are saying, you know what? Well, it's time for, let's say, pencils and pens. But in this case, perhaps it's also time for AI. Do tell.
Yes. So, people come to Google every day to learn, whether it's for their work or it's for school. And, this year we're really prioritizing using AI for a more personalized and accessible learning experience, really transforming the way students get their information and kind of prepare for those pesky exams and getting ready for the new semester. So we have a bunch of new really powerful tools that are geared towards students and teachers, and it really makes the whole learning experience a lot more personalized and just transformative using this AI technology that everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I'm really excited to find out more about that. Before we do so, I'm curious, can you tell us what happens to be some of the top searches as students return to the classroom?
Yes, so it's always really interesting to see how these shift year over year. This year, we're actually seeing science as a top trending subject, paired with study tips for science. Interestingly enough, a huge breakout is middle school locker organization and accessories. So I remember those days very, very well. It was like the most exciting thing to finally get a locker and make it yours. And that's really top of mind too, even with shopping as well for like locker accessories. That search actually tripled over the last month. And then finally, which really pairs well with what we're talking about today in AI tools, college study tips is also a breakout search as well.
Really? You know, it's so funny. I'm thinking back as you made mention of the middle school locker. Back in my day, we used to have magazines. Do they even have those nowadays? But you would tear out, let's say, the page with your favorite, let's say, singer, actor, what have you, and then paste it and glue it right on your locker.
I remember wrapping lockers was a very big deal at your birthdays. Like that was the thing.
Oh man, the good old days. Now I don't know how they do it. Maybe they just put up an iPad with a digital picture of somebody.
I know.
Who knows?
I know.
So Robert, a lot of folks with regard to AI are now getting help with homework and studying. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so one of our most powerful tools is Gemini, and that's our personal AI assistant here at Google. And it's really just your creative collaborator to help with whatever you need in life. And we really found that it's a really especially powerful tool for students that are just trying to get more out of their semester, whether it's brushing up on new topics or getting help with the complex problem. And we actually just yesterday announced a whole slate of new features that are really, really incredible to help with students. So one of my favorites is guided learning. So say you're stuck on a math problem or you're trying to understand a new algebra concept, Gemini can act as your personal tutor. So really all you have to do is just upload, for example, a photo of a math problem you're working on and click guided learning. And it brings up this new experience that lets you kind of have Gemini explain how to do it and solve it step by step, or even just with a different subject as well. And I think that really the big key here is not just giving students the answer. We want to help them understand it step by step and really transform how they're thinking about it. Really having them get to the answer themselves through these step by step interfaces and tips. And it really goes a long way in making sure that they grasp this in a way that is personalized to them. That also includes, we have flashcard and quiz abilities as well. So if you're studying for a test, Gemini can be your study buddy and actually quiz you on the topic. You can actually transform a lot of those quizzes into flashcards so you can brush up the night before a big exam. So the possibilities are really endless when it comes to just kind of rethinking how you tackle those tough topics. For me, this would have been a lifesaver when it came to anything math related. So,
Robert, you and I are speaking the same language. I mean, this is no fair. What I mean by that is, imagine if we had this in our heyday back in grade school. Dear God, I think the highest grade I ever got was a C in math. So, shoot. But you know what? Congratulations. I'm sorry.
I said I'm right there with you. That was never my strong suit.
But one of the things
we're actually giving away our top tier subscription, so Google AI Pro, which actually unlocks higher access to our most advanced models and some of our more cutting edge features. So if you're a student, ages 18 and over, you can get that service for free for a year this year.
Wow. But can you speak to parents' involvement as well? I mean, yet again, I remember sitting at the dinner table and mom and dad coming over to help me out. And, well, quite honestly, there happened to be several problems where they too were somewhat stumped. And so with AI and with parents, and I would assume a lot of them happen to be in my age range, I'm not really familiar. And so I would assume that it's somewhat user-friendly for them as well.
Absolutely. I mean, Gemini is, available for all different ages, and it really excels with that as well. I mean, I think of what a win this would be for a busy parent that's trying to juggle that crazy back to school time. So whether it's coming up with new dinner ideas, that are quick and easy to execute on, or, a new routine as well, whether it's like, help me kind of organize my schedule a little bit. How would you map out, I got soccer practice and, band rehearsals and all of that. Gemini could really just be super helpful in being your AI assistant. So whatever it is that you're looking for help on, coming up with new wardrobe ideas, how to maximize your schedule, productivity tips, helping explain complex topics to your kids, or navigating the complexities of starting a new school year, like making new friends or how to acclimate. Gemini really, really, the possibilities are endless.
As we wrap up, Robert, anything in particular that really struck you about Gemini? Anything that truly is a home run? I know we talked about homework, but I know we even talked about our lockers. But is there just one thing that really stands out?
Yeah, I think, Gemini for Teachers is also a really powerful tool as well. So we're actually offering our suite of 30 educational AI tools in Gemini and Google Classroom for teachers. And that's all free of charge. So, teachers can use Gemini for things like helping, craft lesson plans or interactive experience for students, grading papers and tracking student performance. It really frees them up from that busy work that really takes them away from, like connecting with their students and giving them more individualized attention. So really taking away the legwork of, all the admin teachers are used to. I think that's a really, really powerful tool as well to keep in mind for the new year, that it's not just applying to students, but parents, educators, and really just supplementing their work.
Yeah, that's what you call a home run. Robert, folks that want to find out more information, how would one go about to do so?
Yes, check out gemini.google/students to take advantage of that new promotion and to get a inside look at all the new features we're introducing and that are available today.
Yet again, Mr. Robert Ferrara, Google Tech expert and my fellow Locker magazine poster, if you will,
Yes.
joining us right here on the Live Zone. This was fun, Robert. Truly appreciate you joining us on the show.
Of course, always great to see you.
No doubt. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Well, it's a wake-up call to parent and healthcare providers. I'm referring to a new pioneering study out on babies who lack proper gut health. You see, it turns out most U.S. babies are deficient in key gut microbes essential for their health. Let's put it plain and simple. Babies lacking in key gut bacteria are at a greater risk of developing asthma, allergies, and skin irritations. Joining us now to discuss this and so much more is Dr. Stephanie Culler. She is the CEO and co-founder of Persephone Biosciences and kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Dr. Culler, good to see you and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, this is a big deal in the case of, we're talking all things with regard to children, and in this case, babies to be more specific. What were the key findings out of the study?
Yeah, so the My Baby Biome study is the largest and most diverse study in the United States to map the infant gut microbiome. And what we found, which was very concerning, about 90% of the babies in the United States are missing critical strains of key bacteria known as bifidobacterium that are important for immune system development. And without these key bacterium, these babies are at much higher risk for what we call atopic disease conditions. That's food allergies, eczema, and even asthma.
So, Dr. Culler, I guess the next question is, how in the heck did this happen?
It's really modernization. And, I'm the mother of a 4-year-old, and us parents are not to blame. It's really industrialization. It's antibiotics, it's C-section births, it's poor diet, and different geographies, and just essentially the environment. And we know it's modernization because non-industrialized populations, like those in the United States, the Old Order Mennonites, the Amish, even the hunters and gatherers of Africa, their babies have high levels of these key missing bacterium, and they are not at risk for these conditions. They simply don't get these atopic disease conditions.
Wow, this is so interesting and so fascinating. I have to tell you, Dr. Culler, it reminds me of the story that a buddy of mine, he happens to be the parent of a newborn, and well, his wife was a little upset because he took the child out and about, and well, quite honestly, she didn't want that to happen yet. And he said to her, well, the baby needs to be exposed. And so I'm curious, parents that are in that position, what would you say to them?
Yeah, absolutely. The way to fix this is really by giving back the right strains of bacterium that the babies need, and that kind of Mother Nature intended that we used to have in the United States no longer have. And so I would very much encourage probiotics that contain bifidobacterium, but also the right food source to nourish these probiotic strains. And that's what's found in breast milk, human milk oligosaccharides.
Really?
And that two combination helps fix this problem.
Wow. This is, yet again, so fascinating and interesting. How can we bring more awareness to this? Because this is something that, in my mind, you really need to grab the bull by the horns and make sure Americans know about this.
Absolutely. This is an urgent problem. And we want people to start knowing that even vaginally born breastfed babies, their microbiomes are compromised. And so if we can start talking about that, this is an issue. It's very common now, but it's easy to fix. We just have to put back those right bacteria.
With regard to your practice, have you seen an influx of parents coming in concerned about this as well?
Absolutely. And the results that we have from our publication really kind of laid that out in great detail because many of the babies who are missing the right bacteria, their microbiomes contain potential pathogens, so very harmful bacteria. And parents are concerned, how can I immediately fix this? And that's kind of the solution. Is actually pretty easy. You can add probiotics to your infant's formula, breast milk, and even food.
Wow. Yet again, wise words by Dr. Culler. If I would like to feast my eyes on this newly released study, how would I go about to do so, Dr. Culler?
Yes, it's on the Nature Communications Biology website. Bifidobacterium deficit in the United States in infants drives prevalent gut dysbiosis. That's the title of the publication.
Very good. Yet again, we have been speaking with Dr. Stephanie Culler. She is the co-founder and CEO of Persephone Biosciences and kind enough to join us on the Live Zone. Truly vital information. Yet again, we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
You bet. All right, guys, we'll take a quick break. Producer Chris joins us next with what's coming up on Do You Like It or Not? That's next on the Live Zone. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Producer Chris joining us with all things Do You Like It or Not?
Now, this is a little bit one of those sort of situations where I don't want to get myself in any sort of trouble here.
Yeah.
Okay, because, you know, I know bad TV. I have been responsible for some of it some of the time before. I am free to admit that. But there's a new War of the Worlds remake out right now. It's streaming on Prime Video.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you had heard of it ahead of time. If you have heard of it, it's probably because you've been on social media lately and seen some clips, because this is one of those examples of a movie that apparently may be so bad it's good, because it has a lot of people talking. And I actually wonder if it will inevitably help the movie be more successful. So if you're not familiar, this is another remake of the H.G. Wells classic. The most famous version is probably the one Orson Welles did as a radio broadcast back in the day.
Who could forget that?
Exactly. So this remake, the director kind of took the approach of, well, that was the technology then. What's the technology that this story would be told now? And it's smartphones and computer screens. So the entire movie is Ice Cube sitting in front of a computer. He's supposed to work for the Department of Homeland Security. They start getting these strange reports of alien invasion, and he's on. So clips have been running rampant. It's got a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
That is the headline here. A
Zero?
0% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is very rare if you're not aware, because it requires every single professional review to be negative. Now, if you're familiar with Rotten Tomatoes, there's also like the audience score.
Yeah.
It ain't better. It's only like 14%. So not really a hit. Let's put it that way. It's not going to win any awards unless it's like the Razzies, for example. Now, after this started generating some headlines for how bad it was, O'Shea Jackson Jr., who is Ice Cube's son, if you're not familiar, kind of jumped into the comment section to say that this movie was actually filmed 5 years ago during the pandemic, which explains some of the reason that it's shot that way.
Okay.
And it sat on a shelf for 5 years. Another major complaint about this movie is that it's on Prime Video, and a lot of people say the Amazon product placement in it is kind of out of control. But like I said, I do think this is one of those things where, like, I now have a morbid curiosity, and I think I want to see it. And there probably wasn't going to be that much of a chance that I would have watched this otherwise.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Oh,
I'm curious what you think. Whether a movie, if you end up hearing that it's so bad, it makes you want to see it more.
I'm all in now.
Oh, yeah.
Especially 0 on
0%
Rotten Tomatoes?
on Rotten Tomatoes.
I've never heard of that before. Wow. All right.
There's a few examples out there, and the reason you don't know many of them is because they're generally terrible movies. Now, speaking of remakes or reboots or whatever you want to call this, do you remember the classic sitcom The Office?
Oh, love that show.
I mean, there was the original British version, then there was the American version created by Greg Daniels, starring Steve Carell. Well, now it's coming back, kind of. The paper is the new one. It's coming out on Peacock on September 4th. This is set in the same world, and it's supposed to be the continuation in the sense that the documentary crew, remember The Office was supposed to be one of those mockumentaries? The documentary crew has now moved from a small paper distribution company, aka Dunder Mifflin in Scranton, Pennsylvania, to a newspaper, a newsroom in Toledo, Ohio. However, the company that the newspaper works for also sells toilet paper and toilet seat covers. So they're a paper company, and in order of like how successful they are, the newspaper's at the very bottom. So Domhnall Gleeson is the star of this new series. Like I said, you can catch it September 4th on Peacock. Also, because it's set in the same world, you may remember Oscar from the original series. Oscar is back for this new series.
Oh, wow.
So it exists in the same world. You see him right there. Maybe that means we'll see some of the other original stars popping up in this one. But I do think that show has so many devoted fans. I mean, it's still, anytime you put on your TV, you can find episodes of The Office on right now.
Yeah.
So I won't be shocked if this one
One of the
does well,
best
too.
shows of all time, in my opinion. It's just so great because it's so real.
It's so real. It's so perfectly casted, and you could probably walk around this newsroom and kind of a sign.
Yep.
Who's a Dwight and who's a Michael Scott and who's the,
oh, that's so
the
true.
Jim and the Pam. So.
All right. Speaking of real, tonight it's about to get real at 7:30. Do you like it or not? Producer Chris doing it yet again. Man, everybody is talking about this show, Chris.
Well, I love to hear that. Now I need everybody to join the Lion Zoom room. So I'm going to put out that QR code. If you follow me on social media, I'll also put it in our broadcast channel on Fox 5. So you can find it there as well. 7:30. Join the conversation. I would love to see you live and hear what you have to say about the topics we're going to talk about. I know one of my topics tonight is getting your news from TikTok.
Ooh.
Do you like it or not? If you had asked me a month ago, I would have had a very different answer for you.
Get
But
our
mine
news
has
from
changed. Well, yes, absolutely. But maybe we need to put our news on TikTok.
Okay, so real quick, you told me right before we started that you have a special guest tonight.
I do.
My sister from another mister.
Sunny.
Sunny in the city. I texted
Joining
her.
us live.
And said,
for
Sunny,
at least the first half.
I'm going to talk about you. So let's say what she said back. LM, laughing my butt off watching now. Told you,
It wasn't
Sunny.
a B. It wasn't an LM. It was an A word.
So
that we'll probably say on Do You Like It or
They
Not.
call it Chaos Thursdays when Sunny shows
so
up.
last week, if you missed it, I was watching out of the corner of my eye, and Sunny had on a blonde wig that she then took off in the final seconds and put on Marina Morocco. And then it hard cut directly to me standing here. And I had to just apologize to our viewers here on Fox Local and say, nothing I could possibly do will be as good as what just happened on that show. So hopefully a little of that magic will rub off tonight.
I'm telling you, it's chaos in a major way. Hi, Sunny. We love you.
Love you. Thanks for sticking around.
Joining Chris tonight at 7:30. Mark it on your calendars now. You watch, what have you. Set the alarm tonight right here on Fox Local. If you haven't already done so, make sure you download the Fox Local app, or they can check you out on YouTube.
Absolutely. We're streaming live, and if you want to talk to Sunny, join the chaos at the Lion Zoom room.
Producer Chris joining us on the live zone. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. It's time for our Thursday Talkers with Annie Mae back in the house.
I know, Guy.
Girl?
Guy always emails me, and he's like, hey, let's do it, and then he cancels on me. Can you believe this?
Well, that was
Blasphemy.
last week, but no, I mean, we believe you me, the viewers love having you on, so thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
I'm kidding. You know I love Guy.
All right, let's talk about being stressed out, because, oh gosh, that's so common nowadays.
I know.
Being an adult is so hard. So when you're stressed out, Annie, Mae, obviously you have to find several things to do. In this case, perhaps you go to a spa to relax, perhaps you work it out, get all of that tension out.
Yeah.
Over in China, guess what they're doing? Popping in a pacifier Yes, apparently a lot of adults are saying, you know what? It reminds me of my childhood, a feel and a sense of safety from childhood. Now one company is taking advantage of just that by, well, let's say selling adult pacifiers to the tune of $10 to $70. By the way, a number of doctors are saying, you know what? You shouldn't really do that because it can mess up your bite,
teeth, yeah.
strain your jaw, or even disrupt your sleep.
Well, I knew that they didn't want children to be having pacifiers in their mouth past a certain age because I know it messes with your teeth and your jaw, right? And it makes you have like kind of like funny like lips or teeth or something like that.
It's
I don't
weird,
even know what it is. It's also weird for an adult to have a grow up. Like what? Some of the things we talk about, I'm like, do I even have to tell you not to do that? I shouldn't have to tell you not to be a grown adult and put a pacifier in your mouth. Don't do that.
Can you imagine if I showed up here
and I'm just like,
just with a pacifier?
No way when I'm not talking about.
And then the mere fact that there happens to be tiers, if you will, with regard to what they're selling for. $10, but if you really want to be bougie, you buy the $70 version.
A $70 pacifier. I know so many mothers that are like trying different hacks to get their child off of a pacifier, and you, at the ripe age of whatever you are, now want to stick a pacifier back in your mouth. Weirdo. You're a weirdo. Bring back the word weirdo because you're weird.
On that one. The mere fact, though, that the company took advantage of it, I got to give them a high
Good
five.
for you, though.
Yeah.
You know what? I can't even be mad at that because there are so many companies that just like jump on the opportunity of something. Good for you.
If
and
you're
if people
dumb
are
enough
buying
to buy it, somebody is smart enough to sell it.
Yes, right? Exactly. I will never be mad at that. I'll
Yeah.
be mad if you try to raise your prices and, you know, it becomes this whole thing. But
Don't make this a fad, by the way. We don't want to see you
No, we're
sucking
not bringing this back.
pacifiers.
Nope.
Hey, let's talk about Gen Zers because, well, that's what we do nowadays. Always get on you guys and gals. In this case, Gen Zers cannot afford love.
Oh, whatever.
According to a newly released study, apparently a number of Gen Zers are not giving up, they are getting savvy. Researchers determined that a staggering 53% of Gen Z gents and 54% of their lady counterparts spend $0 per month on dates. So gone are the days of spending money. In this case, it's forward thinking rather than whining and dining.
I have like mixed opinions about this, right? Because I am Gen Z and I understand the culture and the economy that's going on right now. Like I understand that and how everything is just so dang expensive.
Yeah.
Like, so I really do understand you not wanting to spend money, especially on a first date. I wouldn't even mind going halvesies on a first date because
nice.
I don't even, like, to be completely honest, like I don't necessarily know you very well. So I wouldn't even mind doing that, to be completely honest. But once you get to like further down the road, it's like I completely understand the hesitation behind that because it gets costly. It gets costly.
It's beyond cost.
Yeah.
My buddies and I, we always say, just to leave the house, it's $100.
It is.
Just to leave the house.
Gas.
I mean,
gas.
A drink or two, dinner, and dear
Yeah.
God, if I'm paying for someone else as well, and I'm a gentleman,
Yeah.
I think you should pay.
Yeah.
It's $100 easy.
But then you have to be hesitant about who you go out with and how often you go out,
Yeah,
right?
that's so
and then
true.
so it's like if you're going on a date and you're trying to meet people, everybody's always going, you know, meet people, go out, have fun, go on dates. Okay, are you fronting the money for it?
Yeah.
No. So I understand this.
But I guess the question is, what do you do then if you're not paying for a date? I mean, would you just take a walk in a park or something?
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't even know. Hang out, like
Where?
at home, which I don't even really agree on for like the first date. But to be completely honest, I've only ever been on one first date that I haven't talked to somebody like really, really consistently and known them for a while before then. Everybody that I've ever, you know, dated in the past, I have always known that person and talked to that person for a long, extended period of time. And by the time we're going on the first date, I already know pretty much
Yeah, it's
everything
like,
there is to know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a technical date.
And so, but at that point, you're like, you better pay.
Yeah, you better. At that point, pay. If it's a blind first date, you don't need to pay, in my opinion. And I'm a girl, so
I think you
have
should,
to
guys.
take it.
Be a gentleman.
Yes.
So make a good
Guys,
first
don't
impression.
listen to her.
Hey, you know what we should listen to? This amazing news, Annie Mae. MLB naming the first woman umpire for a regular season Major League game. This is huge. I am so excited about this. Why it matters? Well, we're talking about Jim Powell. She walks on field during this weekend's Marlins Braves series in Atlanta. She'll be breaking another barrier in the league that, well, yet again helped break the color barrier. This is just really awesome. I am so excited about this. You know, it's about time. It's 2025, and why did it take this long in order for this to happen?
I think it's crazy that something like this hasn't happened before. for, right? But to me, like, regardless of gender, like, I think if you're good at your job, you're good at your job. I don't think it has to do with your gender, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm with you.
If you're a good umpire, which they're hard to come by these days. If you're a good umpire, if you're good at your job, you're a good broadcaster. I don't think it matters if you're a woman or a man. I don't think it matters in this specific situation either. And people are always going to say, well, you have to play the sport to understand it. No, you don't. I have never played football, and I understand when Tom Brady has a good game. Like, no, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, especially if you study something for a long period of time.
I agree.
You can, like, if you study something for a long period of time, it's no different than school.
Yeah.
If you study it, you become an expert at that.
I agree. No, I'm with you.
I don't think it's that crazy. People always complain.
The proof of the pudding is there happen to be several. There's a football coach. I think he's on the NFL team. He played professional basketball.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with football, but now he's coaching football.
Yeah.
So I get your point. I do think, though, and let's just be real, she will be scrutinized a lot harder.
When she makes a mistake, it's going to be, we don't want women in sport. This is why we don't want women in sports. But when a male umpire makes the same, if not worse mistakes, made a mistake the same game, the last game, it's not because of his gender that he made a mistake. He just is an umpire that made a mistake. She's a female umpire that made a mistake. And that's what I don't like. And you know me, I work in sports too, so I get it, but I also get the way the game is, right? And you got to just brush it off if you're a woman, because that's the name of the game.
I'm curious, with regard to hockey, are there women, is it an umpire as well? Who are the officials?
Referees? You know what? That's a great question that I'll have to do some research on. I don't think I have seen one.
Really?
I don't think so.
And you're always on the ice. So
okay, I'll do
Capitals.
some research and I'll get back to you on that.
I'd really like to know
curious. Huh?
Okay.
What do you know?
And if that's the case, you're going to find out first right here.
I know there are coaches now too.
Yeah, as there should be.
In Seattle, there's a big female coach, and she's on the bench, and it was like a huge deal in the league for last year. So that was really cool. That was a big step for her.
Well, in this case, yet again, Jen Powell, you go girl.
You
Congratulations.
go girl.
And I can't wait to see you doing your thing on the diamond. Annie Mae, you go girl. You're about to really go.
I'm a go.
Bye. Yet again, Annie Mae, kind enough to join us right here on the Live Zone. Hey guys, you see the QR code right there on your screen. It's really cool. You should definitely download the Fox Local app. You know, I should say that they pay us to say that, but quite honestly, it's one of the best things you could do because you're always in the know, whether it's weather, whether it's news. Well, all you got to do is download it, and then you will be in the know as well. Don't forget our YouTube page as well, all things Fox 5. Hey, tomorrow, hip-hop royalty. MC Light's going to join us on the show. I am so excited about that and would love for you to join us. On behalf of Emmy, my producer, I'm Guy Lambert. The Take, coming up now on Fox 5.